Robust and heated debate. This as ANC MPs rallied behind Ramaphosa as opposition parties tore apart his plan of action for the country. The recurring theme was the ongoing rolling blackouts and the energy crisis. The DA has threatened to take government to court over the declaration of the national state of disaster. ANC Chief Whip fired the first preemptive strike at the opposition.
A lot of hot air is going to be blown about the government declaration of a national state of disaster to respond to the electricity crisis and its effects. The critics of this approach miss the most important element of the intervention, namely the strong central coordination and decisive action needed to deal with the national crisis of energy.
But the DA said it would not back down.
We have no other option as the Democratic Alliance but to challenge this latest state of disaster in court, if only to prevent an even bigger disaster.
The Mineral Resources and Energy Minister tried to expose the DA's contradiction on the issue of the declaration of the state of national disaster.
January 2023, the leader of the Democratic Alliance made a bold statement that will support declaration of the state of disaster on the emergency and the energy crisis. That was the 31st of January. Then when the state of disaster was declared on the 9th of February, the same leader of the Democratic Alliance came back and said, we'll take the government to court for declaring a state of disaster.
The DA also described President Cyril Ramaphosa as worse than his predecessor, Jacob Zuma.
As we look back now on that early period of the Ramaphosa presidency, through the lens of this year's State of the Nation address, we arrive at one inescapable conclusion: that you, Mr. President, are somehow guilty of something even worse than the thing that you once accused Zuma of. For if President Zuma presided over 9 wasted years, you, sir, have presided over 5 disastrous years.
But the EFF leader was less than polite in his scathing attack on the president.
Our country is in the middle of several man-made crises. The man who's currently at the center of South Africa's crisis is a full-time businessman, animals trader, possibly a puppet of both the domestic and global capitalist interest, who has said that the job of president for him is a part-time job, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa.
The IFP warned of a possible social unrest if the current problems facing the country are not addressed.
But if you ask anyone on the street what defines us, they would say load shedding, unemployment and crime, amongst other things. You are right that we are not people easily resigned to our fate. But there is a warning in that. How long will it be before you have a revolution on your hands? And believe me, it will not be a silent revolution.
The Freedom Front Plus blamed affirmative action for Eskom's problems.
It is common knowledge that black economic empowerment and affirmative action is one of the main reasons for the problems in Eskom. Their own employment equity plan determines that in the next 3 years, Eskom must get rid of 500 white men technicians with technical skills.
The UDM accused the ANC of being a beneficiary of questionable deals.
For example, the country has been delivered into the grips of load shedding, whilst corruption has chewed all the money that was meant to develop the power generating infrastructure of South Africa. Certainly, Mr. President, the ruling party on this one had benefited through Hitachi and Chancellor House deals.
The EFF and Police Minister were also at loggerheads over various matters.
The Honorable Mr. Steenhuisen, to say, Mr. Steenhuisen, want to hear you apologizing to abuse a young woman who came to work in your office and was a wife of your colleague, and you took that wife of your colleague. You divorced your own wife, and you took that young girl. She's your wife today, but the women around you are quiet, are not saying anything, and you come in this podium, you talk about gender-based violence.
We cannot sit here and allow the minister to abuse the wife of the leader of the opposition in the name of fighting GBV. That is a women abuse what he did here and cannot be accepted. He must be called to order and to withdraw that.
Cele's remarks were ruled unparliamentary.
I must indicate that Honorable Cele had already sent a message that he wishes to withdraw and apologize for the remarks he made. This was before I received a letter from the DA on the same matter. I now recognize Honorable Minister Cele.
I withdraw.
We must say that bullies and stormtroopers of the opposition have only mastered one thing: debate should never be given a chance. A master's degree should teach us that in order to lead, we should listen to those whom we disagree instead of raising frivolous points of order.
On day 2, opposition parties were not letting down the political pressure as the ANC stood its ground.
As an international standard, the rule of law and good governance are fundamental for global investment. Mr. President, on this front, only the blind will fail to see how you have invested more energies and resources in strengthening and repurposing the criminal justice system in line with its constitutional mandate.
Rising unemployment, the deteriorating state of municipalities, rampant corruption and crime also came under the spotlight.
South Africans want results, Mr. President, not more broken promises. And this is what they will vote for in 2024, a party that delivers results.
You political parties, you lock yourself in a room and cut the cake according to what is your interest. At the time, communities outside, locked outside there. When the service delivery is not rendered, the blame goes to municipality. And we are calling to government and calling to parliament to act on this because it's a problem that is going to be with us for a very long time. Our people need service, they don't want politicking.
And what is clear, Mr. President, is that every time your ministers don't perform, instead of firing them, you protect them by taking things into the presidency. Be decisive, Mr. President. Fire them. Don't have a nanny cabinet. I'll see you nanny.
The leader of the ACDP, whose wife passed last month, thanked the president for coming to sympathize personally and spending time with the family during their time of bereavement. He said his wife was most concerned about the high levels of crime, especially violations against women and children and blackouts in the country.
Mr. President, it is very unfortunate to know that the unreliable Eskom of today used to be the #1 power utility in the world.
But due to those who are seeking bribes, those who are trying to extort the people who are awarded that bid, the car power ships cannot be plugged into the grid to now ameliorate the energy crisis that we have. The reality is that in the immediate, you have got no any other solution except plugging in the FSRUs from Turkey, from China, and from the Russian Federation. That is one of the immediate things that we must have to deal with.
It was left to the Justice Minister to do the sweeping on behalf of the governing party.
They came here to present their election manifesto. They were not here to present solutions to the people of this country. In fact, the Commander-in-Chief or the Supreme Leader of the EFF even presented the state of the city of Johannesburg. Honorable Shivambu has just left here, attempted to present some ideas. But unlike, and I'm very disappointed with Honorable Shivambu, because almost like Honorable Steenhuisen quoted his hero, P.W. Botha, without acknowledging him, on the Rubicon speech.
What became clear from the marathon debate was that there is still disagreement between the ruling party and the opposition benches on how best to resolve problems facing the country.